I've got one of my idols in. He's played over 1,000 professional games. Big David Seaman.
And he would ask you, he'd ask like Tony or he'd ask me or Dick or Nigel or Ashley, how am I doing? Am I playing all right? We'd be like, yeah, of course you're mine. Kill him.
Martin Keown, right, used to do this practice in a warm-up where he'd tackle the wall.
Like Arsenal fans are now singing England's number one again. And it's been a long time since they've actually sung that. Ron Saunders did a press conference on his own, and in that, he went, that lad will play for England.
It's Bez, you're twisting my melon, man.
No! And he went, I've got someone who wants to have a word with you. I was like, what? And it was Fergie.
Was that the only time in your whole career that you was like, I think I've had enough now?
Yeah.
Cool as anything.
That's how you celebrate a save.
Because you've got the fattest fingers in the world, Dave.
I know.
Your fingers are like sausages compared to mine.
This is like my debut for England. I was like, whoa, this is like proper.
This is
and I'll tell you now, that is the most nervous I have ever felt in my life.
What a save from Mark Howard.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Yours Mine Away podcast with me, Mark Howard. Can't believe I'm actually saying this today. I've got one of my idols in, one of the reasons that I play in goal and still carrying on to this day. He's played over 1,000 professional games. Actually sounds crazy to say that. It's pretty surreal for me. You don't know how much of an influence you've had on my career. Please welcome Big David Seaman.
Pleasure, mate.
I can't believe you've actually come in. I'm absolutely ecstatic.
Yeah. Nice.
I've been saying to you, I've looked up to you for years.
I know, and it's weird, isn't it? Because you were like, what were you, about 14?
14, 15.
Yeah. And then coming in and then watching us train and actually training with us, didn't you? Little bits, But,
well, when you did train.
Yeah, when I needed a warm up. I was at that age where I knew what I needed, and I would say to Bob, I'd be like, right, we'll just do a few volleys. And then that'll be it, and like what you said, you said earlier, didn't you? You came in and saw me do some volleys.
Yeah. So one of my first experience of meeting Dave was I got invited down during half term to do like a bit of training. Bob introduced me to you, and you was brilliant. You came over with a big infectious laugh and that. I was like, I can't believe I'm actually meeting you at first. And then I remember you coming out to training. It was me, Stuart Taylor, Graham Stack, and Craig Holloway, Dev. And you came out, you did a bit of a jog, caught 10 volleys and went, I can't do any more and walked in.
That's it.
I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to get to that level. I still never have.
That's what I mean. You've got to know what you need. And, you know what it's like for a goalkeeper, especially in training. You have to go through everything to make sure that you're ready for Saturday. And if there's something that happens in a game and you're not too sure about, then you work on it in the week, don't you? Yeah. And that's how I used to be. But if I was all right,
didn't need to do it.
Just tick over.
Yeah.
Don't do loads because you might end up knocking a finger or something. And, I was I don't know what age I'd be when that was happening, but, it was getting to that stage where I knew exactly what I wanted and I knew what sort of mind frame I was in.
Yeah, you'd played that many games as well. You knew how to gear towards a match anyway.
Yeah.
And you'd seen it all before. There's no point you physically exerting yourself during the week when you just save it for a game.
No, and that's, but a lot of our energy is in the week. We work hard in the week because match day you might not have anything to do. As much as I hate that phrase, you had nothing to do. Yeah, but I made about 20 decisions not to come out or cleared it or cross, all that sort of stuff. The positional side of goalkeeping that nobody sees.
Yeah,
that's what nothing to do means. Apparently,
kept a quiet goal.
Yeah, and you make saves, and if you make saves, that's what they remember. Or if you make a mistake or whatever. But it's I just knew what I wanted.
That's something that I always took from you, and having Alex Welsh and Bob Wilson to speak to, is that how quiet a goal you kept. No one ever talked about you after a game because you'd just gone about your business silently. I think like football's evolved a lot now, and people are celebrating saves more, and the goalkeeper's got more to do, playing out from the back and that. Yeah,
and that when the persona that I put out there, where it was, I was calm, I was relaxed, I was laid back, but in my head everything was going on, and then you look at the other end of that and you look at like Peter Schmeichel, who was like really aggressive, always shouting, and it just shows you that there's more than one style of being a goalkeeper. Like there was my style and there was Peter's style, totally different personalities, but we both made it work.
That's it, exactly. There's no right or wrong to it. It's just you got the most out of what you could do. He got the most out of what he could do, and that's how you played in goal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think that's like obviously one of the biggest things that I took from you is that how clean you were, how calm you were. And like you're saying, you're going through everything in your head, but you're knowing that if I catch this one, it just kills everything off instead of doing a big parry and a big block that like a Peter Schmeichel would have done, which then you had the defence in front of you that made it a lot easier to be calm as well.
Yeah, but the other thing about that though was, you know, like the back four, which was obviously like Dicko, Tony, Baldy and Nigel. You know, you didn't get a lot to do, but you had to be on it, you know, because if they've got past them, they've worked a really great move to get past you, and then it's down to you, you know. So that's the hardest side of goalkeeper that I found is like not having stuff to do, you know, and to take that forward to England and where you get even less to do most of the time, you know, but you've got to be right on it. But they were special. That back four were that, and it wasn't through chance. You know, you probably saw it yourself. You know, that was through hard work. You know, the drills that they used to go through, not every day, but a lot of the times in the week.
One of the other things I remember at the new training ground was when I went full-time, Martin Keown, right, used to do this practice in a warm-up where he'd tackle the wall. Honestly, I walked out to training one day and all you could hear was a thud, like thud. And you walk around the corner and he had a ball placed against the wall and he was practicing 50-50 tackles with both feet. And you look at him and go, he's mental. And then you speak to him, obviously he's so articulate as well.
Yeah, he's totally different off the pitch, you know, but on the pitch, you know, he would have gone through that brick wall for you.
He would have done, yeah.
You know, definitely, because he was so competitive. We used to, I don't know whether, you know, people know, but we used to call him the rash because he'd be all over the centre forward, you know, and be like, Martin, go and rash him, you know, but he was one of those guys that, like, in the game, he had to feel like he always got the top hand of the striker, and he would ask you. He'd ask like Tony or he'd ask me or Dick or Nigel or Ashley, you know, how am I doing? Am I playing all right? You know, we'd be like, yeah, of course you're mine. You know, kill him.
Bit of reassurance. Didn't know that about him. Right, before we carry on, right, I'm just going to do a couple of quick fire ones, questions. They're dead simple, right? So, right, catch or parry?
Catch.
Yes, I love it. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Play short or kick it long?
Oh, well, in my day, it was kick it long.
Kick it long, yeah.
Yeah, get it away, you know, because they can't score and it's over there.
Exactly. Favourite ever goalkeeper?
Oh, tough.
The next question's the best keeper in the world right now.
Right, okay.
Your favourite ever goalkeeper?
Favourite ever goalkeeper? I find that really hard because, like, as a Leeds fan, it was David Harvey, but he was nowhere near my build. And then from that was like Ray Clemens, because he was my sort of build.
Yep.
And then like watching Bruce Grobbelaar, or, you know, like Joe Corrigan. You know, these are the guys that I watched when I was young.
Yep.
You know, much younger. Favourite? Do you know what? I really like watching Bruce Grobbelaar.
Yeah.
You know, because as much as he was, everybody used to call him the clown. The way that he reset coming out for crosses, you know, and the athleticism that he had, you know, I loved it.
He was so quick as well, weren't he?
Yeah, and he was doing stuff that other goalies weren't doing.
Yep.
You know, so that's why I really liked him.
All right, well, best keeper right now then?
Well, I always go with Neuer, you know, because of he's been doing it for so long. He's done everything. He's won everything. You know, obviously he's got a bad injury at the moment, but yeah, then I look at people like Courtois, you know, even Martinez, you know, watching him for Argentina and obviously at Villa, and remembering him as a 16-year-old coming to Arsenal, and he was raw as, and Arsenal had just paid £1 million for him. And me and Tony Roberts, I was coaching with helping Tony Roberts out there, and he was coming in and he got all these weird and funky habits and everything, but he's developed himself into a really good goalkeeper. Sometimes I don't like the way that he is, you know, but that's just his own personal style. But yeah, he's a good one for the future as well, because I love goalkeepers that dominate their box.
Yeah, he does as well.
And in nowadays, it's so much harder because the balls are so much faster and lighter. You know, and then the delivery of the ball that's coming in is so different now. You know, my day it was normally hung up and you challenged for it. You know, and that was an easier ball to take. But nowadays, these balls are coming in with pace.
I think that's one of the reasons you see lots of like goalkeepers just don't come anymore.
Yeah.
They'll just be a 6-yard box goalkeeper. The delivery's got so much better. The balls, like you said, are quicker, lighter.
Yeah.
Alisson up there for me. I always think Allison this season's been unbelievable.
Yeah, Alice has been brilliant. I love Edison as well.
Can mention Rambo as well in that convo, surely.
Aaron's, I'm letting him go under the radar
Right.
because we've got a real special goalkeeper there.
Yeah.
That I see things in Aaron that I used to love myself, and there's little bits that keep reminding me of like when I was in goal. But he's 23, 24. And I was 26 when I signed for Arsenal, so he's doing it now.
It's unbelievable.
The best thing about Aaron and all the whole thing is that like Arsenal fans are now singing England's #1 again, and it's been a long time since they've actually sung that.
Nice. You're actually proud of that as well. Really proud.
I love it. Yeah,
that's good. That right. New goalkeeper gloves or new football boots?
New goalie gloves.
New goalie gloves
all day long.
All day.
Yeah.
Hate. We was talking about it before, but hate a damaged pair of gloves.
Oh, yeah. Would swap them even at half time. If I'd got a scuff on them, I'd get a brand new pair out. Because in my head I didn't want me being full stretch, and the only contact with that ball would be that scuff bit. And if it was, and then it went in, I'd be like, you can't do that. I can't take that risk.
Ketchup or mayo?
Mayo.
Long sleeve shirts or short sleeve shirts?
As in footy kit?
Yeah.
Oh, long sleeve. What are they thinking with a short sleeve? I'm like,
new
Aaron,
school,
it's
that.
freezing, by the way, and you've got short sleeves on. But
Just showing off the arms, aren't they?
yeah.
World Cup or Champions League?
World Cup.
And then last one, movie or box set?
Box set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Big box set?
yeah, just like binging.
Nice.
I've done Game of Thrones, the whole thing 3 times.
Oh, could go in there.
Harry Potter, I've done that about 3 or 4 times.
That's a film, though. Both. He just said both.
Yeah.
Right,
there is a box set as to like, what is it, 9 movies?
Cool, it is, yeah. Right, so normally we kick this off with your first ever memory of being a goalkeeper.
Right.
Can you remember yours? It's only a couple of years ago, surely.
It's quite a few years ago. But I remember like being at school probably in the infant school, but within that same playground, there was the junior school. But there was a line across it where we weren't allowed to go over, and I remember looking and watching them play football and that. And then when I was old enough to go over into the junior school, I went over to where they were playing football, and I was like, "Oh, can I play?" And then I was tall, I've always been tall, and they were like, "All right, you go in goal." And then I go in goal and I start like catching it or saving it. I don't know what I was doing, but what happened was I got praise from the big boys, and that really, yeah, exactly, acceptance and confidence. And I was like, I like this. And that was it. That was, from then on, I never wanted to be anything else.
And did you take that from the playground then and go and join a team, like a Sunday League team? Or
No, so we had our school team.
Yeah.
So we had our school team. I remember we played in a 5-a-side tournament and we won it, right? And we got presented our little medals like a couple of days later in the school playground by 2 Rotherham United players, right? And I remember being in the playground, looking up, thinking, "Wow, they're real footballers," and I never forgot that ever.
stuck with you.
Yeah, and that's why, when I see kids, I've always got time for little kids, and because it makes such an impression on you when you're that age and you see like a real footballer.
So then, from then, you got scouted by Leeds, didn't you? How did that all come about then? From your school team?
Yeah, so I did school team, and then, like you said, like Sunday League football, and then county football, and then obviously there's scouts watching wherever you are, and as much as you might not notice it, but they're everywhere. And so I got scouted I got Leeds, Rotherham, both Sheffield clubs, Chesterfield, Barnsley, all the local areas to Rotherham. But I've always been a Leeds fan, so as much as like I purposely didn't sign any schoolboy forms because I wanted to go and just to see. I don't know how or why I was thinking like that, but I just wanted to see different clubs. And but once Leeds came in, it was decision made. I was rubbish at school, and I left
I can't
school.
believe that.
I left school on the Friday for punishment because I was that bad, right? Because they knew I loved PE and I loved my my sport and everything. They used to stop me doing my PE lessons to make sure I did my homework in PE lessons. Oh, that's how bad I was. Anyway, moving on. But so I left school on the Friday, and on the Sunday night I was in my digs at Leeds, and I started work on the Monday.
Yeah, work.
Yeah, That's what it is.
It's work. Yeah. I say this all the time. It's definitely a job.
Yeah, it's a great job,
Yeah.
but it's still work. It's still, at the end of the month,
Yeah.
your money's still the same colour as everybody else's.
Exactly. So from there, you weren't even at Leeds for that long, were you?
No, I was there. I signed as an apprentice, and then I did my 2 years. I got a 2-year pro contract, and then after a year, they released me. I'll never forget that, going into Eddie Gray's office, and him saying, like, I'm going to have to let you go. I'm after a really experienced goalkeeper, because at the time, John Lukic was the number one then. Me and John had trained together as teenagers and that, and John used to pick me up on the motorway.
No way.
Because he'd be going from Sheffield, he'd come past Rotherham. I'd wait for him on the motorway, and he'd pick me up, and off we'd go to Leeds and work together. And obviously later on down the line, I ended up nicking his job. But, so then Eddie Gray said to me, he said, look, I'm going to have to let you go. And I was like, I was devastated. I was crying in the car, going home. And I just didn't know what I was going to do. And then it wasn't until like a week later, Martin Wilkinson had become the manager of Peterborough, and he was Alan Clark's number 2 at Leeds, just before they got sacked. And he found out I'd been released. And then he got in touch with my dad, and he says, I wanted to come down to Peterborough. And I was like, where's Peterborough? I hadn't got a clue where it was. I was only 19.
Yeah.
But then I went down, and it was a real wake-up call, because, I was thinking it'd be like part-time or something like that, but it was 4th division football, and it meant something to a lot of people.
It's always that learning curve. I had that when I went up to Scotland, that winning and losing really mattered at those levels, because people's jobs were on the line.
Yeah.
I found that just made me really buy into it a lot more.
Yeah, well, I had to, and I was 19, but I was playing against men. Like some guys that were like at the end of their careers that were coming down the ladder, some that were going up it, to try and get better. But it was a proper learning curve, and I had to learn really quick.
How was it moving away from home at that age then?
It was strange, but it was lucky because Peterborough had got a deal with the local council and they got these brand new houses, like townhouses, where we could rent them out. Then I moved down with my girlfriend at the time. So it was made a little bit easier. But even then it was still, you finish work at about 1 o'clock. You got a lot of time. So, and I remember going to the local golf club in Peterborough and helping my mate out, who was one of the assistant pros. And I'd help him do re-grips and re-shafts and all that sort of stuff, so that then he could finish early and go and give me a lesson. We go out and play like 3 or 4 holes, but getting a lesson all the time.
That's brilliant. You ended up making 109 appearances, and I think you was there for 3 years. Like you went straight into first team football. There was no introduction, like developing through or going out on loan. You just went straight into it, got playing.
And it was strange because. And then you're playing in front of like 3,000 or 4,000 people, and and like what we just said earlier, it meant a lot to everybody. I'd also experienced playing for Leeds reserves on my 16th birthday at Man United, right in front of 10,000 fans at Old Trafford, because they did this scheme where you had to go and get so many tokens, a reserve team token, to be able to buy a ticket for the final or an FA Cup game or something. So there was like loads of people there and doing that. But then going to Peterborough and realising that this is like everyday work, and it means so much to people. It was something. It weren't like massive, but it built. You know what I mean? And the pressure and the realisation that this is what you do. This is what you've got to be good at.
Obviously, like I said, you established yourself straight away. Did you know that you was going to be playing higher, that you could play a higher? Or was you thinking, like, this might be my level for a bit? Or
Yeah, I was just, this is my level at the time, because of the disappointment of being released was massive, because I was thinking, like, what am I going to do? But then to get that chance, and there was, like, no goalkeeping coaches or anything like that then. I know I was just, me and the other goalkeeper would warm each other up, and then we'd play, and it was really strange, but it just built slowly, but like without me knowing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like what I said about like coaches and scouts watching you wherever you're playing. I didn't know that. I hadn't realised that.
Just concentrating one game at a
Just
time.
doing my game. Yeah,
it's all background noise, that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and remembering Martin Wilkinson having a right go at me at half time because I'd let a bad goal in, and all these sort of things that I remember that I didn't know why they were being done to me at that time.
Yep. but you're just learning the game still,
Yeah.
aren't you?
Yeah.
But like I said, from there, then you went to Birmingham and you played 84 appearances, and then you moved to QPR shortly after that.
But Birmingham, Ron Saunders,
Yeah.
oh my word, he's the manager that knew them, and still is the manager that knew the most about goalkeeping that I've ever had.
No way.
Yeah, and which really surprised me. And the day that I went to sign for Birmingham, we did like the press conference and the signing of the contract. And then he went, right, he said, we're going out on the pitch now. I was like, what? He said, I've got a few of the lads, the apprentices back, and we're going to do a bit on the pitch, with the press watching and everything. I was like, wow. I was like, I ain't got any gloves or anything. He was like, don't worry, we've got it all sorted for you. Went out on the pitch and they were hitting these shots at me. All the cameras were there and everything. And I was breathing out of my, what. And then finished it. And then afterwards, Ron Saunders did a press conference on his own. And in that, he went, that lad will play for England.
No way. You could see it.
Yeah. And that was like, obviously when I heard that coming from him, I just signed for Birmingham. That was like a massive boost.
Yeah, obviously that pat on the back.
But no pressure, eh?
I think you got promoted, and then you went to QPR. You got promoted with Birmingham, so obviously you had a really. I've got it down 84 games here. You had a promotion straight away. You must
and then a relegation.
Oh, of course, yeah. You went straight back down the next year.
So I joined in when we were in the second division, got promoted, went straight back down, and then got sold. And the relegation, I remember that being like. It really affected me because I was like, no, like what you said earlier about it's people's jobs at stake.
Yep.
And there's money at stake here. And I felt that pressure was really hard. Rather than the pressure of when you're going for trophies, it's different because when you're going for trophies and things, you're all playing well. When you're going on relegation, you're all playing bad.
Yeah.
You're down there for a reason.
You can't carry anyone when you're down the bottom
And
of the
if you
league.
make a mistake, it's really going to affect the game.
That's what I've found that throughout my career, that the relegation battles, you really have to dig in, and it can become really hard. But like you said, when you're at the top of the league, you can have 4 or 5 players that you can almost carry sometimes.
Yeah.
As long as you've got a goal scorer and a defence that don't let in goals, you're still going to win games.
And you can make a mistake and then they'll get you out of it.
Yeah.
But when you're down there, like I say, they're not all playing bad, but a lot of them are playing bad.
Yeah, you're all in it together as well. So then, like I said, in a short space of time, you end up playing 380 appearances, over 380 appearances, but no injuries. You've played relentlessly, really.
Yeah, I broke my collarbone at Peterborough, got knocked out at Peterborough. 5 minutes later, I'm still playing.
Wow.
No, it was like, that's what it
then.
was like, yeah. But broke my collarbone, but only like little injuries, nothing big, and it was, and it was always going like this.
Yep.
It's always getting better and better and better.
Just building up to that move to Arsenal. Right, before we talk about that, right, I'm going to jump straight in with our quiz and test a bit of your goalkeeping knowledge.
Oh, God.
Right, this is a kind of a trick quiz. I hope you're ready for a game of goalie or no goalie.
Right.
So I've got 5 current international goalkeepers that played at the weekend just gone.
Right.
They all started as well. So I've made it a bit easier, and then I've got 5 random names from people around the world to try.
Right, and I've got to say goalie or
goalie
not.
or no goalie.
Right, okay.
Emily Ramsey, the Everton goalkeeper, she got our first 10 out of 10.
Yeah, but women know everything.
Yeah, it's very true.
Do you know what? So I was on just before the World Cup. I went to St George's and I went to watch Marge. He invited me to go and watch, and I was like watching the lads training, the goalies training, and then after that, so Josh Dixon, is Lee Dixon's son, and he's the masseur and not masseur, he's the personal trainer for all the girls, fitness trainer, and he asked me to do if I'd do a Q&A with all the girl goalies. 2 hours later, they were like non-stop wanting to know stuff.
Everything.
If it was like with the men goalies, they'd be like, they'd hardly ask a question, would they?
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh yeah, they'd be like, oh, time to go or what? But the girls, they want to know everything about it.
We had Darren Ward on last week, who's obviously the Lionesses goalie, and he said that the girls are so meticulous. They're learning everything about the game.
He was there. He was in the.
He said that they don't stop. He said they want to do more and more, learn more and more.
Yeah. They were and all the different questions they were asking, not being asked before, all sorts of different things.
I should have wrote them ones down. Right, let's crack straight on then.
Go on,
right? So it's 1 point for each correct answer.
Oh, my God.
Right, number 1, Anthony Silva.
Goalie.
He is a goalkeeper. 39-year-old Paraguay and Puebla goalkeeper in Mexico.
What a guess.
Yeah, great start. It's a great start. Right, number 2, Matthew Fort.
Fort. I'd say non-goalie.
He is not a goalkeeper. He is food
that'll
critic
do.
and host, Great British Menu Judge.
Right.
I didn't know if you'd have heard of him at all.
I have seen his face, yeah.
Yeah, you would do. Right, number 3, Gurpreet Sandhu.
Non-goalie.
He's a goalie. He's India and Bengaluru goalkeeper. His head coach was Simon Grayson this season.
Right. I wouldn't have got that.
Yeah. Number 4, Pedro Pascal.
I'm going to say goalie.
He's not a
Oh,
goalkeeper.
man. There is a Pascal as a goalie.
Yeah, there is.
But not a Pedro.
This was Chilean actor. Most recently had the main role in The Last of Us series.
I know him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good actor.
He's
as
been
well.
in Game of Thrones.
He has been in Game of
Yes.
Thrones. This is where some of the non-goalies are linked to you somehow.
Right. Oh,
so it's stuff that
okay.
I've either heard on interviews or your hobbies.
Yeah.
Right, number 5, Henry David.
I've got to go non-goalie.
You are right to go non-goalie. It's Prince Harry.
No way. So I was on Bullseye, right? And then they asked me about so Henry David. So that's what? So David's his
Surname.
So I was on Bullseye and they asked me about Kate
Middleton.
Right, I nearly forgot again. And I couldn't remember her second name, right? And I went, Windsor. Right? Because she'd just been so they were like, they had to stop the programme to go and check.
Fact check.
But I got it wrong. And I got it wrong.
That'd have been an unbelievable
David,
call.
I never
wouldn't
knew
it?
that.
Yeah. Neither did I until I researched it last night.
Wow.
Right. Number 6, Mert Gunuk. Yeah, they're all tricks.
Yeah,
It's not an easy quiz on purpose.
Got it. Yeah, I'll go non-goalie.
He's a goalie.
Yeah.
He is Turkey and Besiktas, GK.
No.
Number 7, Lucas Hradecki.
Is he a golfer?
Or Kiridesh.
I'm going to go non-goalie.
He's a goalie.
Oh,
He's Finland and Leverkusen goalkeeper.
No.
Number 8, Mark Berry.
Oh, see, that sounds like a goalie.
Current international goalkeeper.
Berry. Non-goalie.
You're right to say non-goalie. It's Bez. You're twisting my melon, man.
No.
That's Bez's real name. Mark
Wow.
Berry. He does not look like a Mark Berry, does he?
No, and he doesn't like a goalie either, does he?
No, he doesn't. He's taken more caffeine than a goalie. Right, number 9, Yunling Yang. Sorry if my pronunciation is a
Yeah,
crap.
I'll go
pronunciation.
goalie.
He is a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
China and Shanghai Port keeper.
Right.
Like I said, they all played recently. I have to do all my research and make sure that they're current players.
Yeah, but you only knew recently because you asked
I'm
me a
looking at
question. You looked on Google or somewhere.
Right, number 10 to finish off. You're on 5 currently.
That'll do.
Jacob. Right, Jacob Wheeler.
Non-goalie.
He's a non-goalie.
Oh, 6. Yes.
Current ranking,
Fisherman.
best angler. I know you love your fishing.
Wow.
World number 1 angler. I've
Is
got.
he? Well, number 1 angler. I want that title.
Yeah, I thought you would. That's why I thought I'd chuck it in. 6 out of 10. That's not bad.
That'll
then.
do. I'm well happy with that.
Yeah, right in the middle of the mix there. That's good.
Yeah.
That. Right, let's crack straight on to your move to Arsenal then. Obviously, it didn't originally come about straight away. It was a 1 year in the making thing.
Yeah. It was less than that. It was. So I remember going. I was walking my dog around a lake, and I was looking for fish as I still do now, but without the dog. And my phone went, and it was Brian Robson, and he went, "I've got someone who wants to have a word with you." I was like, "What?" And it was Fergie, and he came on. He says, "Right, I want you to know I'm coming in for you in the summer because I was running my contract down at QPR."
Yeah.
And I went, "Okay then." And he said, I can't come in for you at the moment because we've got semi-finals, and I think they've got Jim Leighton and Les Sealy in goal, and he was swapping them, weren't he?
Yeah, he was.
Says,
Yeah.
I don't want to upset them by letting them know and all this, that, and the other. I was like, okay, and then puts the phone down, and I'm like, whoa, I'm going to Man United, And then a day later, or probably the same day, Arsenal phoned my agent and said, no, they phoned the club, phoned QPR because they didn't have an agent at that time. Phoned QPR, made a bid for me because I'd only got like about 4 or 5 months left of my contract. But they made a bid for me, and I had to go and chat to Arsenal and agree terms. And I was like, whoa, okay then. And the fact that I'd already lived in London with QPR for 4 years, my family was settled, I thought, yeah, this is the right thing. So I go to Arsenal, all the press are there waiting for me to sign a contract. But the deal hinged on Lukey, my mate.
Yeah. Keeps coming back to him.
Yeah, going to either Leeds or going to Birmingham where I was, because it would then free up a space in the squad.
Yep.
And he was like, Lukey being stubborn Lukey, he was like, no chance. So then the deal fell through. So I'm like, so then we have to go out in front of all the press saying, no, the deal's not happening. But, So then I go back to QPR.
Phone Sir Alex straight away.
No, I didn't. So I didn't know what to do, And so Ray Wilkins, God bless him, was at QPR at that time. And I said to him, I says, what would you do? Where would you go? And he went, well, if you go to Man United now, you won't win trophies straight away. He said, because they were rebuilding at that time. He said, but you will in the future. He said, but if you go to Arsenal, you'll win trophies straight away because they just had 89,
yep.
All that sort of stuff. And I was like, right. And then that was like my decision made. 2 days later, although the transfer window had gone, I signed a contract for Arsenal, which then made sure that QPR got 1.3, which was a British record for a goalkeeper at the time, for me, rather than letting my contract run out and they got nothing.
Yeah.
So then everybody
left
was
on
happy.
good terms. And
Yeah. All right, the fans found it a little bit different. So a lot of them turned on me because I'd played my cards and I told everybody I was going to leave.
Yeah.
But the thing that a lot of people don't realise is that when I signed for Arsenal for less money than I was offered at QPR.
No way.
But I wanted to test myself. I'd had 4
You
years.
want to win trophies.
Yeah, I'd had 4 years at QPR. I'd made my England debut when I was at QPR, but I wanted to see how far I could go. I didn't want to just stay in the league.
Yep.
They were just happy to stay in the league, maybe nick a European spot.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to see, that ambition had gone so much in that way, because from being like released to then have a choice of Man United or Arsenal, and it was just.
Well, obviously it started off with your signing with Arsenal, but you end up spending 13 years there. A proper love affair for the club, and that 564 games, I think it is.
Yeah, and then the biggest thing as well was getting Bob Wilson every day as my coach.
Yep.
Because he used to come to QPR like once a week. He did that, I think, about 2 seasons. And then obviously George Graham had asked him about me, and Bob always tells me, he says, I said to George, there's no problem with him. He's spot on. And, so Bob then was my coach. So he, 15 years he was my coach. He's been my best man twice.
No way.
So that's the relationship that I've got with him. And, that it was brilliant for me, that really helped, and it was, people, the goalkeepers that came in at Arsenal probably said, it might be a bit too personal, because we were so close. So it would have been, maybe hard for Bob to make some sort of decisions if he ever had to.
He didn't need to,
though,
no, did he?
I know. It did help. But it was, it was brilliant for me, and, but now I see goalkeeping coaches coming in, and they're there for as long as what the manager is, because they all bring their own teams in now, don't they? So there's not many relationships like what I had with Bob.
That's one of the things that I've noticed along my career as well, that a lot of goalkeepers either work for a manager or they work for the club, where in your case it was you had such a great alliance with your goalie coach, and you knew that he had your back and vice versa. You'd both go to bat for each other no matter what. Like, that's so different than how things are now.
Yeah.
I think that's just the instability of football now.
Yeah. And it's strange, and I know goalkeepers, some goalkeepers don't even get on with their goalkeeping coach, and I'm like, whoa, how's that going to work?
Yeah, the dynamic's just not right.
Yeah, and even like now, like trying to it's getting harder for the goalkeepers to say what they want in training. Do you know what I mean? You know, because like that, when I was with Bob, I could say, right, you know, that I found myself in a weird position for that cross or that shot. Let's just work on near posts or whatever. You know, now it's all set out. You know, and I see it at Arsenal that everything is set out. There's so much prep goes into training, even on the academy side and the under-21s and all that. And I'm like, wow.
It takes a strong character in football to go against that, though, and then now say to their coaches or their goalie, I don't need that, I need this.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult thing.
But they need to be able to do that. They need to be able to mix it. You know, because like you said, the coaches are always changing, but you need to be able to say, I need this bit as well as that. Yeah. But can we just do this little bit? You know, because in here, it makes you feel a lot better.
Is there anything in training you remember with Bob that he knew how to get the most out of you?
Yeah. Bob's secret or trick was that you would get confidence out of training. You know, you'd be in for like turn and save shots, you know, so from outside the box. And you'd probably do about 6 normally. If you made it like a couple of worldies in the first 2, it'd be right, stop, out. And so like you leave that session, you're like full of confidence. You know, that's what Bob used to do, you know, but then sometimes it would last a little bit longer trying to wait for that worldie.
That one moment.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. I remember obviously training with you, and you did. I'm pretty sure if I remember it correctly, you did 10 volleys, and you went, Bob, I can't do any more today, and you walked in saying, I'm off to fishing, and that was about it.
I don't know about can't do anymore. I'd probably said, Bob, that's enough now.
Yeah, I think that was probably about right. And I remember, like, obviously, I was only a young pup at the time, and I felt like clapping. I was like, oh my god, if I ever get to that point in my career.
Yeah, but you know, I'd like to think that my 10 volleys or whatever.
They were perfect.
Were spot on.
They were perfect.
You know, and that's what I was like. Yeah. You know, if it was spot on, that would be it. That would be enough.
Yeah.
You know, because then I could leave that session full of confidence.
Yeah, and ready to go again. Right, I'm going to list some of your honours here. Right, this could take a while. Okay, right. So Premier League winner twice, FA Cup winner 4 times, League Cup winner once, Charity Shield winner once, 3 times, sorry, and a European Cup winner.
Yeah. And a league winner before it became Premier League.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
You know, so I've won the league 3 times. You know, because all the records only started.
Discount that.
Yeah, and I played over I think it's about over 200 games in the top division, and all my clean sheets in them 200 games don't get counted.
No way.
Because they weren't in the Premier League. Not that I'm bitter and I've not checked up, honest.
Are you full on with your stats as well?
No.
No,
I
you
never
must remember
was.
how many clean sheets
I
you've
never
kept.
was. No idea.
I do. Oh, I do.
Do you?
Oh.
I know how many trophies I won.
You count them every day.
Yeah, and do you know what? Who was it that said it now? Somebody said the other day, one of their worst feelings was walking past, I think it was the Europa Cup, you know, like walking past it as in they'd not won it. And then it started getting thinking as to how many trophies I'd walked past without winning them. I think there's about 3, and the European ones actually.
Doing the stairs,
so like in the finals,
walking,
yeah. So like, you know, like I remember in the European final against Parma, we arrived at the game, and on the podium, which they were going to put on the pitch afterwards, it already had winners Parma painted on it. Obviously, we were like just the add-on, the little sliding in case we won it.
No way.
Yeah, that was all the encouragement we needed.
That must have, yeah.
And so we went on, and obviously we won it. We were like, yeah, make sure you
Get
put the
your
right
slide
plaque
on
in
out.
there. Yeah.
Right, you've been voted the 7th greatest Arsenal player ever.
See, that's like, yes.
That's
like
some
player,
accolade,
not like goalie.
Yeah.
Player.
Not spare part.
No, you know, and it's, yeah, that means a lot because it's, you know, and then it's nice, you know, because I've still got a lot of love for the club, you know, and as much as I'm a Leeds fan, I'm going to the game at the weekend, and I will wear my half and half scarf because I don't give a damn at what people say. I'm Arsenal and Leeds.
Arsenal. Yeah.
You know, and yeah, it means a lot, you know, that I am in that as a player, not just as the goalie.
Well, obviously, like I remember you being at Arsenal, like that. I remember you in Arsenal kits and England kits. Like I think there's so many of us that even now that are either still playing or even coming towards the end of our career, you had such an influence in that spell and like how you were so good, like, and so consistent. I think that the level of consistency that you've shown over your whole career and playing so many games is just unbelievable. I think.
And that's what that's what I'm proud of the most as well, is that I got to 40, and I was still playing in the Premier League with Man City.
Yeah,
and I knew that things were changing, like in my body and things, and we spoke earlier about I was playing away at Wolves for Man City, and the ball was down the other end, and I was just like, what am I doing? And that's the only time I'd ever had that feeling, and I was like, that's my sign.
I wanted to ask you about retirement and your body and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Was that the only time in your whole career that you was like, I think I've had enough now?
Yeah, the only time. And then the next day, I remember going in and seeing Kevin Keegan, because I used to rent one of his apartments right next door to him, actually. And I said, right, just to let you know, I'm gonna retire in the summer, because that was it. Then 10 days later, we played away at Portsmouth, and I went out for like you do like a sliding save at someone's feet. But as I went out, my knee dug into the turf, and it spun me over, and Yakubu's knee hit me right on my shoulder. And I knew I'd done something, and I tried to carry on, and I couldn't, and I went off. And then I went to the hospital, and not that day, but like the next day or whatever it was, went to the hospital. There was loads of wear and tear. I'd sprained the AC joint, and they were like, it's going to be quite a while before you get back to training. And then you've got a chance of it dislocating. I was like, I've had enough. I'll retire. Kevin Keegan said to me, he said, look, excuse me, I've got a chance of getting David James. I went, you get him and I'll retire. And that's how quick it turned
like
out. But I was ready. I was ready. I was 40, but I was ready to retire.
Like I was saying, at 40, you've played well over 1,000 games. It's pretty much unheard of. Professional football games.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm on 400 appearances and 300 times I've been on the bench. Yeah. And like I'm 36, so to say that you did that over a 21-year professional career is just
did you know what, like
insane numbers?
Yeah, but like the 1,000th game as well, which was like so weird. It was in that shirt.
That leads on to my next question.
Yeah. So it was in that shirt, right? Them gloves, because that glove
made that save.
Right? So what's funny is afterwards, like Paddy Kenny came up to me and he went, "Oh, you want to swap shirts?" I was like, "Yeah, all right, mate." I took my shirt off, and then in the dressing room I signed it, and luckily I only signed it safe hands David Seaman, not to Paddy.
Oh,
right. So I'm on the coach on the way home, and then I get a call. Have you got your shirt? I was like, "Why?" Well, it's your 1,000 game, and you made that save. We won it framed and everything. I was like, "Shit, Paddy's got it." So the next day I phoned him up, and I went, "Mate," I says, "I'm really sorry, but
I need it.
Can I have it back?" And I got two more of the same shirt, obviously not the shirt, but two more of the same shirt. And I sent him 2 pairs of gloves all signed up and everything, and he was fine with it. So, thank you very much, Paddy.
Right, can we break down this save? Obviously the save is the semi-final, the importance of the save as well. So it's a semi-final of the FA Cup. There's 10 minutes to go.
We're 1-0 up, and we weren't playing very well. We were under pressure.
Scalido and this header. Honestly, this save is the most
iconic. And the corner comes in. If you watch it, like goes one way and then it goes another way. So that's one attempt. Then there's another attempt there. And I just remember like diving backwards. But if you look at my face like nothing.
Cool as anything.
That's how you celebrate a save.
You play poker?
I must admit, I did used to say, great ponytail, by the way. Look, that's one effort. There's another one which should have scored. And then that one, I remember diving backwards and thinking to myself, like, if I carry on with this, it's going in. So that's why I luckily got the scoop behind it. Threw it out. Phil Jagielka puts that over the bar.
Imagine if he taps it.
If he puts that in, nothing gets said about my save.
But the one thing, obviously, the agility and the speed of reaction, but the poise when it lands in your hand to actually be able to chuck it far enough. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like that little bit of composure that you've had for a millisecond to go, actually, no.
Yeah.
And flick it.
No, exactly. To but that's what, people say, "Oh, well, how did you do that?" And you do that because you make decisions all the time, and so many decisions in training. Yeah. Not always in games, because I've never been in that position again in a game. I might have been in a similar position where I've clawed it out in training. But and I was 39 then.
Yeah, that's
and that proved a lot of, or stuck my fingers up at a lot of people, because a lot of people were saying that I was past it and everything. But what I love about it the most is my reaction afterwards. He's like nothing. It's like deadpan. And I think he actually comes up to me and grabs me. And he's like, save that was. And I didn't realise until afterwards, and I saw it on TV, that I realised how good it was.
It's actually incredible. It's breathtaking. That is I still vote this as the best save ever.
Yeah.
I think this is the best save you'll ever see. I don't think it's got everything. Like you're saying, that the change of feet, the footwork,
change of direction of the ball as well.
The ball diverts 3 different times.
Yeah.
And then for you to be able to claw it out and flick it, I don't know how you do it.
And I've met Paul as well, a couple of times, and he's like, yeah, I do get reminded a lot about it. So, and of course, Sheffield United are in another FA Cup semi-final, so that'll get played quite a bit, hopefully.
Oh, if only you had the views.
I know. Well, I always said there's like 4 million views on YouTube and 3.5 million of them at me.
It's incredible, mate. Honestly, that is the best save I've ever seen.
And I think
you must still watch that going, oh my God, how did I say that?
All the time. And I also think as well as like, how did he miss it?
Unbelievable.
But like you say, it was a proper save.
Proper save, right? Before we carry on, Matt, before your international career, I'm going to talk gloves now.
Right.
You've brought in the best pair of gloves ever because they made that save.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk gloves.
This is Matt Smith, and this is the glove review on the Yours, Mine, Away podcast.
As a former player, now coach, you've got 2 different views on this as well, and how they've changed.
Yeah, it's strange because like the way like nowadays, like these for instance, these are what I wear when I go coaching. Like there's no strap.
Yep.
I know you can get them with a strap if you want, but I got these sent and I was like, oh, these are like really awkward and.
You've got dead wide hands as well.
Yeah,
Getting your hand in
it
that.
did help. But yeah, and it's like the fingers are different. Because on my ones here, I've got roll fingers.
Yep.
And that developed from normal flat palms, then moving on your fingers sometimes.
Yeah, that twist.
Because you couldn't get them tight enough. All right. Then later on, I had gloves made to measure. I was fortunate that happened, and then I tried these on, and I really liked it. Because first of all, I just had 2 fingers done. But then all of a sudden, I think Puma sent me a pair of all roll fit, and I was like, "Oh, I like that," and that's why I went with them. But the latex is still very similar.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and do you know
They've
what?
lasted really well, by the way.
They have, haven't they?
You can see this on the camera, how well. That is actually incredible.
Yeah, so like what, 2003 they're from?
Yeah.
Like 20-year-old.
20 years old gloves, and they're still in that good condition.
Yeah.
Right,
they were stored very well in a plastic box at home.
Yeah, not that you've moved them around different houses plenty of times.
No, exactly.
What size gloves are you? Because
Well,
you've got the fattest
are
fingers in the
like-
world, Dave.
I know.
Your fingers are like sausages compared to mine.
Yeah, you want to try doing it on not going on your phone? It's murder. But anyway, yeah, they were made to measure. So I remember I got I was supposed to be signing with Nike, and they made all my gloves exactly how I wanted them to, and then they ummed and ahed on certain bits of the contract, and Umbro came in and just went boom, there you go, and that's why I signed for Umbro. But I got this massive box of David Seaman gloves, but Nike ones.
No way.
And I couldn't wear them. I'd like just chucking them everywhere, giving them away and all sorts.
Again, obviously, I grew up watching you, and every time I went to train, and I'd sit by the window waiting for you to turn up. And I remember you used to open the boot of your car, and you had this big brown box full of gloves.
Yeah.
And every day, I felt like it was every day. You just put your hand in, took a new pair of gloves out.
Yeah.
Just because you had that many gloves.
And the thing is like, I'd wear them in training, or like the match day gloves. I hardly ever, because I always gave them away.
Yeah.
Not chucked them into the crowd, but sometimes I'd go back to, because I used to have a box at Highbury that I shared with Dennis Burkamp. It was the most expensive creche that would ever pay for me and Dennis. And, and it was, so then I'd give people, my guests, the gloves and all that sort of thing. So it was always like non-stop getting gloves every week. Yeah.
Obviously, now you're coaching, like you're saying, it doesn't really matter what gloves you wear. Do you think it's important that a coach wears a pair of gloves?
Yeah, you've got to look the part.
Exactly this. I say this all the time.
And not just you ain't got to just look, like look the part. You've got to be the part. You know, you got. the thing that I like that I'm going to change like for next season is that all the coaches at Arsenal wear the Copa Mundial, the World Cup boots, and I'm like,
Want a pair of white Puma Kings on?
no, yeah, exactly. So I'm going to get Adidas to send me some different ones. They sent me some like cream ones with orange stripes on, and I love them, but they're no good. But I don't want to be like, they're like almost like referee. But in the time, the Copas were brilliant boots, but like now they're for.
Well, this is one of the things I was going to talk about as well. You know, like our goalkeeper kits always stand out. We're always like the most flamboyant player. And like you've had some unbelievable goalkeeper kits, and you've had some horrendous ones as well. Oh God,
yeah.
Like obviously we've got a bit of flair to us because of our kits. So when you go into coaching and you're wearing just a uniform, a tracksuit, we're like, where's my magic gone?
I know. Yeah, but I'm all right with that as a coach now because I always I either wear a hat, like or a beanie. I want to keep warm as well. But yeah, some of the England kits were shockers.
I love
the red one. That one, for instance, was just. I remember that being on my place when I went in, and I was like, "Oh my God," because the shorts were red, but you can't see on the socks there. They're like a red colour. The original ones. They were like refreshers. They were like bands of different colours. They were.
Oh my God, they are horrendous.
Look, them socks there.
They are horrendous. See, like that's the old JVC kit further down the yellow. That is a lovely goalie kit.
Yeah, and there was a black one like that was cool. But the red one, right? I remember, like I was stood in the lineup for England. National anthems are going. I think it was Colombia we'll play. I can't, not for sure. But them socks, oh my God. Anyway.
it's mad how
and I'm in the lineup, and the opposition, there's two of their players going like, look at his kit. And I'm like, steam was coming out and everything. But yeah, the yellow one obviously is really iconic because I made that save against Spain.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about the penalties.
Yeah, but the red one, so Umbro told me that the red one is their best ever selling kit.
No way.
Yeah. Because the kids love that sort of colours and stuff.
Kids loved you, mate.
I remember after that game, that first game, I went into the press room doing the interviews, and one of the guys said to me, "Oh, what do you think of the kit, Dave?" And I went, "It's shit, and you can print it." And they did. David Seaman says the new kit is, you know what.
I wanted to ask you as well. Obviously, you speak to a lot of younger goalkeepers now. What do you tell them about your gloves and your equipment?
I always say make sure you look after it. Like treasure them. Because these are the most important, especially your gloves.
Yep.
And even I say especially your gloves, but your boots are as well. Because the amount of kicking we do, and especially nowadays with goalkeepers playing out from the back. But your gloves, make sure they fit and look after them.
Yeah, and everyone likes something slightly different. So like I think it's maybe because of Jens as well. I like my gloves too big.
Do you? Yeah.
So like I'm strange. Like I still wear the spines because Van der Sar wore them.
Right.
And like so I've taken stuff, but I've got roll fingers because you wore them. So I take whatever I've got off other people. And I remember like Jens used to walk around with his hands deliberately practicing because wide and like just dull things that you pick up off people, but. Like I said to you before, Aaron Ramsdale said that he hates the gathering. I've had professional goalies phone me up and say, I don't like that bit either. I'm going to change my gloves.
I know what you mean. But yeah, it's just like little bits. If you can get it changed and find ones that suit you. I came through like the green cotton gloves and all that sort of stuff. You're like, no gloves. What about this one, by the way, that Aaron told me about? Some of the guys put Vaseline on their gloves. And I was like, what?
It works.
And I know, but I've never tried it because I don't want to wreck a pair of gloves, because I don't get many nowadays.
I'm pretty sure if you ask for gloves, you'll get gloves then.
But yeah, and I couldn't get my head around that.
Yeah, in extreme wet conditions.
Yeah.
You get an old pair of gloves and it will destroy them. You wear them once, but honestly, a layer of Vaseline. And they're the stickiest things you've ever felt.
It's almost like goes totally against like, I've got Vaseline on your gloves, haven't you, when you drop that one? But
it
sticks now. Yeah. Oh, well, I'll take your word for it. I won't be trying it. But
Right, so I want to go on to England anyway. Obviously, you made your debut, like you said, in '88 for QPR, for England, sorry. But then you went on to appear over the next 15 years. Like you had some spell in goal for England as well. It goes in hand with how your career was anyway.
Yeah, and it was, like you say, over that time, it was, and how am I ever going to forget my first debut for England because it was away in Saudi Arabia. We flew out on Concorde, right? We played the game. We drew 1-1. We fly back on Concorde, and because it was my debut, I'd started. England were doing a sponsorship deal with Ford, so I got a Ford XR3i to drive around in for a year. This is like my debut for England. I was like, whoa, this is like proper.
This is brilliant. This.
So from then to then going, having some ups and downs with England, but then not getting like noticed as the number one until Terry Venables came in.
That was 96, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it'd be 95, end of 94, 95 when he came in and said, right, and I remember him, he came up to me and went, you're my number one. I just want you to know that. And I was like, yes.
That must have just filled you full of so much confidence.
Yeah,
though.
because I'd had games under Bobby Robson, and then I had a couple of games under Graham Taylor, who, for whatever reason didn't fancy me because he took Chris Woods and Nigel Martin to the Euros in 92, and they didn't win a game or anything, and so that was a real body blow to me because I was trying to like get Chris out in my head.
Yeah.
That happened later on in 94 when we played them twice in the cup finals. But anyway, and that was a bit of a blow. But then to be told by Terry that, yeah, you're my number one.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
So that 96 tournament, anyway, was like my first memory of an England international. And obviously the Scotland game and you saving McAllister's penalty.
Just the whole thing, the whole experience about Euro 96 was just... It just got better and better. I remember the nerves and the tension for that first game against Switzerland. Like walking up Wembley, up the tunnel, the old Wembley, getting to the top there just to go and have a look at the pitch. And then there's knights on horses whizzing around the dog track, because it was all medieval. And there's a massive blow-up trophy in the middle of the pitch. And we were like, oh, shit, it's really started now. So that we were like so nervous, and probably shows in the way that we played and just got the draw. And it's weird what you forget, and so I recently watched like reruns of it, and I see like I had quite a bit to do in that game.
Yeah, you did.
That I'd forgotten about.
Yeah.
And then obviously then we draw that, so then it goes into the Scotland game, and the pressure's on, because it's not just Euro 96, it's now against Scotland as well, and then what happened. I made a decent save from Gordon Jury, then Tony gives away the penalty, and I end up saving it with my elbow. Because I knew that Gary was a good penalty taker because I'd faced him against Leeds, and a couple of other clubs he'd been at, and he always changed his side, and as he approached the ball definitely did start to move. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it wasn't Uri Geller, it was just it was momentum.
I remember
because if Uri Geller takes the credit for that, why did he do something against Germany?
Very true. Yeah.
But as he hit it, I knew he'd hit it well, so I didn't have time to like put my hand out. I just stuck my elbow on it, and luckily it just flew over the
balloon's
bar.
over.
And, I remember Tony coming in and running over, and he goes, "I love you, goalie," and he kissed me on the side of the cheek, and he hadn't shaved. That's the first thing I noticed. And then Gaza, like literally 90 seconds, ball comes in for the corner, I get it or whatever, throw it out. 90 seconds later, he scores his wonder goal.
Yeah.
Nick's all my glory.
Honestly, like being part of that team, that squad, that era of England football was incredible. But like I say, that penalty save, that goal, to be on the pitch at that time, everyone all sees the celebrations down that end. What were you doing?
I was just like so happy, that, and it still hadn't sunk in that I'd made that save. Yep. But then I see Gazza score the goal, which then made it 2-0. Which is almost like game over, and then, but I remember like I loved his celebration because, he did the dentist chair thing where we'd been naughty in a bar. Well, I hadn't because I wasn't there, but the press were like right on us, trying to get Gaza out of the squad, and it just showed you that, like let us do our football, let the football do the talking, and the fact that he made that goal, did that celebration, and we beat Scotland was just. Brilliant.
Mad. Yeah. Obviously, the nation went mad. Obviously, losing to Germany on pens and that, just out of luck.
But that's all part of it. But even when, like, I was on the pitch and I think it was Muller scored the last penalty, and I remember like going for it, not getting it because he hit it down the middle. I think it was getting up and like realizing shit, we're out of the tournament now. But then the feeling of like, well, hang on a minute, we've done something that's really special here. You know, because the way that the fans and everybody got behind England, I felt, and a lot of the guys did, that we made the fans love England again.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, because the feeling before that wasn't brilliant. You know,
That's what I'm saying. Even like that being my earliest memory of English football, I don't know whether my old man would have not let me watch it, or it was just that moment. I was like, oh my God, I love this England team.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
I'm a Spurs fan for my sins, but like, I just remember like the white kits and like you were all godlike. Obviously you had a different kit on, but like that England team was something special.
It was, you know, and it was filled with players that you could relate to as well.
Yeah.
You know, a lot, you know, football's changed now, you know, like massively. You know, but back then, you know, there weren't as many mobile phones and that. And, you know, even in like the hotel, you know, the stories like I used to take Gaza fishing, and it'd be an absolute nightmare to take fishing and stuff, and they'd be taking sleeping tablets to fight tablets and all that sort of thing. You know, even like in the hotel, like Paul Ince's room was called the Queen Vic. Because the lads would go and have a drink and a cigarette in there and all that, you know, that's what it used to be
The
like.
meeting room, yeah.
Yeah, like the meeting room, and that's what they did, but they still performed.
Yeah.
It's like let them do what they want to do, as long as they're performing.
Yeah. Right, I don't want to brush over too many of his 75 England caps, by the way, but I do want to ask a little bit about the criticism that you had. Obviously, the Ronaldinho goal, it being such a fluke. I know you've spoke about this in depth before, but for the young goalkeepers that are now at my audience, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
No, but like as goalies, we make mistakes, you know, and so, you know, I've made big ones in high-profile games, and you know, the Ronaldinho thing was he got a free kick and he was looking to bend it in behind the defenders and in between me and the defenders, and he mishit it. You know,
That's all it is.
But obviously at the time, you know, I didn't know, and I remember the ball coming in. And I tried to go one way, tried to level myself out, and I knew I wasn't getting it. But then I'm like thinking, hit the bar, or you know, like
get lucky.
Yeah, but I heard it hit the net, you know, and I was like, no, you know, and I just remember like being in the back thinking, the back of the goal, and it's like it's gone in, you know, but straight afterwards, you see, it was Scholes' fault for giving the free kick away.
I remember watching it, and I just thought it's just a fluke.
Yeah.
Right. And even if you knew it was going there, it's still not an easy save to make because of the height it comes down at.
Yeah.
The angle of trajectory it actually goes in that. And it's at pace.
Yeah.
I don't think
and
people realise how quick that actually comes in.
And he said, "Oh yeah, I meant it and everything." But Gilberto Silva came to me after the game, who was obviously an Arsenal player, and he went, "He didn't mean it." He says, and I says, "It don't matter. It still went in from like 35, 40 yards." You know,
it's just a disappointment, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the disappointment of it. But like now, I'm thinking we've got half an hour left to try and get it to 2-2. You know, like come on, lads, get me out of it.
Yeah.
And while the game's going ahead, I'm now starting to think, shit, am I going to get the treatment that Beck's got in 98 for his sending off? Am I going to get that sort of treatment when I get back home?
And that's going through your head
while I'm playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, the lads didn't, you know, he got sent off later in the game, and we still didn't manage to get an equaliser. And when the final whistle went, you know, the ball went up the other. We started to go up towards the England fans, and I'm like waving, and then that just like when it all hit me, and I became really emotional.
Yeah.
And I know that Sven was talking to me, Clem, Bex. I've no idea. I can't remember one word of what they said.
Yeah,
because I was just like gone.
Well, but that's the horrible thing about a goalkeeper. You're so accountable for every goal that goes in. It doesn't matter if it's the world's best goal or a fluke goal like that. You still blame yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think people realise especially not being a goalkeeping background, you make a mistake, whether it leads to goal or not, you go home thinking about that and you blame yourself. And obviously high-profile ones especially, but the criticism you got was so unjust.
Yeah, but it's, you know, and it had happened before, the Naeem goal as well in the last minute of the final, the European, you know, the Europe Cup or whatever it's called. You know, but these mistakes happen, you know, and what I look for in goalkeepers is if they make that mistake in the first 5 minutes, what are they going to be like now? Are they going to be able to like pick it up and carry on being a goalkeeper, and they might end up making another save that wins the game for the team, or do they go down and then concede even more? You know, and that's how you tell goalkeepers that the ones that can stay the same or react in a positive way are the ones that are going to be okay.
I always found that, like, obviously we all make mistakes. We're only human, right? But like you said, the quicker you can get rid of it, I always try and think of something different. So whether it's like what I'm doing the next day with my kids, because I'll just go straight away, well, what am I doing tomorrow with my little boy, my little girl? And then I'm like, oh, back on the game right now. Yeah. What do I do next that's positive? And just do the next thing positive. Because I have to think of a happy thought to then just get rid of that negative straight away. But like it's instant. You straight away.
The advice that I give to goalies now is that if they do make a mistake, like try and make sure that even if it's just a little roll out or a little pass out, make sure it's nice, that it works. And then if that messes up, then start again.
Yep.
So always reset and then start building.
Yep.
Don't go chasing crosses because you think, oh, I've got to get that cross because I've made that mistake. That's when you'll make another mistake.
And as a goalkeeper, you can't redeem yourself unless it's something that as a team you've done wrong and you've got to save a shot. You can't go out and run harder, tackle harder. You can't go and score a goal.
No.
So you've never get that redemption shot.
Yeah. And be aware of that. You're going to play all game. Like in this game, in that against Brazil, I had a really good game.
You did, yeah.
But then obviously that happens, and that's what you get remembered for. But as I said, if that happened in the first 5 minutes, could I have carried on? And yeah, I could have done.
Yeah.
But all right, I got a lot of experience then. But that's what it's about. It's about being able to carry on, and then improve the team rather than be an absolute nightmare and collapse.
Did you have any superstitions when you played?
Not lots. Obviously I always wanted to go out second, but then that changed sometimes when I was captain at Arsenal, and I've actually been captain of England once as well, which is a really proud moment. But I didn't have anything in my goal mouth. Sorry, I didn't have anything in my goal area.
Yeah.
Because I used to hit, and I've just noticed there that there's a bottle in the back of the net, and I hadn't seen that, because if I'd have seen that, that would have been on the other side.
On the other side, yeah. Can't have things in your goal. I always think that things in your goal are targets for strikers to aim for.
Yeah, I know. And I never used to want people putting towels on the netting and stuff, and if I had lots of stuff thrown at me, but I would always get out the back of the net and chuck it to the side. And just one pair of gloves.
Yeah.
Didn't used to take a bag out with me.
Did you not?
No.
Oh, no. Obviously, this is a different era, right? But people used to take a spare pair of gloves and put them next to their goal. Never wore them, but just carried a goalie glove bag, and put it next to your goal.
Exactly. It was always like just in case, weren't it?
I always thought it was in case fans threw coins, you could just pick them up.
I've had all sorts thrown at me, trust me. I've had fireworks. I've had darts. I remember playing for England, warming up. We were in Sweden. I was warming up at half time, and Ray Clemens was warming me up. And this yellow dart, that long, came over my shoulder and landed in the ground right in front of me. And Ray went, "Come out, we'll go and warm up in the middle."
No way.
I swear. And I've had bottles full of you know what. All sorts thrown at me.
Horrendous.
Yeah.
Have you got any mechanism for coping with nerves? I know, like you said, towards the back end of your career, you'd have been so experienced.
The thing is you don't know when the nerves are going to hit.
Yeah.
And it's not because it's like such a big game that it'll happen. But no, it sometimes it will hit you when you really least expect it. But like, be aware that you're nervous. But then once I was never nervous once the game started. It's all before.
Yeah.
Like in the tunnel, waiting. In the lineup. And then just before the game, that's when you get nervous. But once it starts, you just click into.
It's the anticipation,
autopilot.
Almost, yeah.
It's the anticipation, and then it's like the parrots on your shoulder talking to you. Make a great save. No, you're not. You're gonna throw one in. Nah. All that that always happened like before the games. Of all and it was always dependent on how you've been playing. If you're confident, it's great. But.
Right, I want to ask you a question. Before I ask you about your own podcast as well, I want to ask about Strictly, Dancing on Ice.
Dancing on Ice.
Sorry,
yeah.
and the Mars Singer especially.
Yeah, Dancing on Ice, Masked Dancer. It was... So the Dancing on Ice it all came around when Gaza was doing a BBC version on... and they called it Strictly Ice Dancing. And I went to watch him skate, and he was all over the place, right? And then he slipped, and he broke a bone in his neck. So he had to pull out the tournament. And then he had to pull out the show. And then they said to me, "Oh, do you fancy doing it?" And I was like, well, "Yeah." I said, "But I ain't skated for like 22 years, and I used to skate as a kid, messing about in Sheffield at the Sheffield Silver Blades. Never taught or anything. So then I learned to reskate, and I got like 10 days to learn a routine as well, and we ended up winning it." So then after that, then the dancing on ice happened. And that's where, like all the pictures there, like me and my wife doing, my wife now, Frankie. So that one on the top right, so that's Pam. That's who I actually danced with in the series, the very first series of Dancing on Ice. Yeah. And I'll tell you now, that is the most nervous I have ever felt in my life.
Just a total
first
pressure.
show, waiting in the tunnel to go out and do your routine on ice when you know you can stack it at any time. It's that bad that your mouth goes that dry that when you smile, your top lip stays up there. It was murder, honestly. And then, because it was the first series, we didn't know how if people would watch it or anything. And then we found out after the first show that it peaked at like 14.2 million viewers. We were like, oh no. Wow. All the producers was like, oh yeah. We were like, oh no. And then, then I got a chance to skate with Frankie, who I met through, a few years later, because she wasn't in our show, but we met through the tour, and then it was great, and I actually got a chance to skate with her. So in a blinding pair of trousers
lovely trousers. They're doing a headbanger as well.
They are full of sequins.
When you're doing that, I know you practice, but there must be an element of you going, if I do this wrong.
I know. Well, yeah, but it's you build it up. You build it up in stages, and Frankie, I've got a coach with me every time I go on the ice, and she's done that all her life, and she's a brilliant coach. We still try and get out on the ice now, and it's, we actually opened a rink just before Christmas, these pop-up ice rinks and that, and you get on there and you're like, whoa, it tests you, but yeah, we have a good time, and I really enjoyed the skating. And then the masked dancer.
I've got to say, this is one of the funniest things. I knew straight away as you was walking out on stage. I was like, oh, that's Big Dave. Yeah.
But so the grandfather clock, that was Glenn Hoddle, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Right. So weirdly, I was playing golf with Glenn, Dicko, and Paul White, a friend of ours at, I can't remember what course it was at now. But anyway, we were playing golf, and afterwards we were having lunch. And Glenn was talking, because he did the Masked Singer, and he was talking to me about it, being all, and I was actually training for Masked Dancer then, but I couldn't say a word.
No way.
Because it is like so secretive. Like I didn't know who we were dancing against until it came out on TV, until they took their heads off on the TV. It's so, like even to the point where you're wearing all black, you've got balaclava on, you've got visors on, black gloves.
So if a car pick you up from your house, you're all dressed up.
And you're not allowed to tell people either, so like I could only, so my daughter at the time was living with us, so she knew, because otherwise she's thinking, what's Dad and Frankie going and dressed like that for? And I told my mum and Dad and Bob and Megs actually, and they were the only ones that knew, and they kept it secret, kept it totally secret until it came out on TV. But I would never have done that on my own.
Yeah.
Because I've been asked before to do like Strictly and that, and I can't dance and I can't sing. So like stick to when you know what you can't do, don't do it.
What's next for you? I'm a Celeb?
I'd give that a go. That's like going fishing. That's like camping, isn't it?
It'd be easy for you, wouldn't it?
I think I'll be all right with that, yeah. And if I'm hungry, honestly, I'll eat oat.
Proper Yorkshire in you then.
Exactly.
Right, obviously you've got your own podcast, Seaman Says.
Yeah.
Do you want to just talk about it? I listened to it, and obviously it's so much related to the Premier League, and you and your mates just get to have an informal chat.
I know, and that's what I like about it, because like before I started the podcast, I didn't really watch a lot of football. Sometimes I'd be watching a game, I'd be like, whoa, when did he sign for them? That's how much I was like not into it. But then since I've started the podcast, they asked me to do it for the Euros, and I really enjoyed it. And now we're in our like second season in the Premier League. And it's just something that's worked. I really enjoy it, even to the point where I'm actually we're doing a live show in a theatre on 24th of April at Clapham Grand, and Ray Parler's going to come in.
Nice.
And we're going to have a good laugh on that. And it's just nice. Like you say, it's chilled out, and and it's recorded. So You know, when I'm like trying to read my lines out and all that. Like, I'm dreading what I'm going to be like on this live show because it'll take forever, honestly. But I've had some like amazing guests on like Robbie Williams has been on twice. I've had Piers Morgan, I've had Russell Brand and Matt Lucas and then all my mates as well, you know, and just like loads and loads of different people. Yeah. And it's nice to see like the passion that they have for the football as well. Robbie, he watches so much football you would not believe.
He's still a massive Port Vale fan.
Yeah, he is, but he's also he watches all the Premier League and he gets them at 3:00 as well because he must have one of them dodgy tellies.
Fair
but
enough.
yeah, but it's great, you know, and it's something that'll you know, hopefully it carries on because you know, like you say, it keeps me in with football as well, you know, and it's great to just have a chat with your mates, you know, and. My co-presenter is Lindsay Hoop, who knows everything about football, you know, not just the football, the WSL, all of it. And she's brilliant at it. Yeah. You know, we have a good laugh because she's a Wolves fan. So we've got a Wolves fan, a Leeds fan, me, a Southampton fan, Adam, and then Callum. Sorry. And then Callum, who's a Man United fan. You know, so we've got like a good mix of football there.
Right, finally, I want to ask about Rambo. Obviously, you've done a bit of work with him and you've gone in with the England training camps every now and then, but the work that you're currently doing with Arsenal as well.
It's nice, you know, and especially with Aaron because, you know, I don't do a lot of work with him on the training field because he's got his own coach. You know, Iniaki's doing a great job there, and I chat to him about little bits and bobs, and you know, I mention stuff, and you know, like mainly text. You know, I always text him before a game and all that sort of thing, and you know, because I do it because like Bob used to do it with me, you know, and there was a picture of me, Aaron, and Bob at the training ground recently, because Bob and his wife came up to the training ground and as makes it a special day, and it was brilliant. You know, it was like, you know, and I showed it to Aaron, and I texted him from him to me to you.
Nice.
You know, and it was a really nice point, you know, and I just thought, you know, that this is what it's about, you know, just passing on little bits. You know, that's why I enjoy so much going in at Arsenal, because I'm just passing on little bits that they do. You know, I'm not like a proper coach because I haven't done my badges. I've done certain badges that mean I can do bits.
I don't think you need badges the amount of games you've
played.
Well,
you wouldn't believe it, honestly. Trust me. But you know, but it's something that I like. You know, I like to watch, and then it reminds me of like game situations. You know, I always try and get the coaches, you know, like Terps and that, and Doyley at Arsenal, that I like get them to make saves like they would in a match. Because in training,
unpredictable saves.
Yeah, because in training you always like want to try and catch stuff, you know, and you do that, and then you'll drop one, and it'll really annoy you. And I'm like, well, if you just pushed it out into a safe area, it's an easier save than trying to catch it. You know, trying to get that switch from making saves in training, but then making them in a match, you know, or match saves, bring that into training as well.
Yeah,
you know,
it's strange. In training, you do try and catch everything.
Yeah,
and you try and have the cleanest session in the world, but in a game, you just keep it out.
Yeah, exactly. And with anything, you know, and then sometimes, like, even when it's close to you as well, you know, like the lads are trying to catch it in training, I'm like, just push it away with one hand. I said, it's an easier save.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a safer save, you know, because it won't beat you up. You know, you'll get so much more praise from knocking it into a safe area than you would try to catch it and it dropping down.
How good do you think Rambo is? And what more have you got to come?
He's got everything he needs. You know, and I was so glad when he came to Arsenal, and I must admit that, you know, I had the same feelings that why are they paying 30 million quid for a number 2 and they just let Martinez go to Villa, and then I saw him, and then I found out about his career. You know, and a lot of people say to me that, oh no, it's a negative that he's had the 2 relegations or 3 relegations, and I'm like, no, that's him playing under massive pressure. You know, as we talked about, you know, like that pressure of relegation is so much harder than going for trophies. But he's had all that experience, and every time he's gone to a club and he's been the player of the season.
Player of the season, yeah.
So he's got all that experience to call upon. Now it's at a different level, you know, and you know, I've seen him, like some pictures of him like proper celebrating, and you know, even when he celebrated when Fernandez missed the penalty, I'm like, oh, I really don't like that. Didn't even save it. What's it all about?
Take the credit for it when you can get it.
You know, so you know, and he's working on different bits of like trying to be, you know, a little bit calmer, and just, you know, because like that being calmer makes you look more confident.
Yeah, it does.
You know?
That bit of composure.
Yeah.
The thing that I've said about him, and when I've worked with him when he was at Sheffield United, is that he somehow manages to absorb the pressure of the opposition fans and turn them against their own team because he somehow distracts them.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's such a skill.
Yeah. And so that reminds me of when he was at Leicester and they did the and then he did the fist pump, and we actually got an advert out of that because they did it. Your chips are. So then he went to Leicester recently, and I was like, right, what did you do? He's like, oh, nothing. I was like, oh, we're not having another advert then. But then that's what I was saying. He's aware of that sort of thing, and he does, and he changes it around. You know, I used to have a laugh with the fans and that. You know, they'd be like, when I had the ponytail and that, they'd be, oh, Seaman, get your haircut, and I'd just turn around and I'd go, like, give them the and then I'd do like scissors like that, you know, and then they'd laugh about it. You know, even I remember at Southampton we were warming up and the ball went into the crowd of the Southampton fans, and they were like, nah, you're not having it back. And I'm like, come on. And there's this guy who was like he got a big pot belly as well. He stuffed it under his jumper. And he got the ball out like that and threw it to him. And then I went, now the other one. And then all his mates were laughing at him. And
perfect.
You know, but like you say, you learn to live with it and use it, you know, because if you don't use it and you're just getting constant abuse, it's not nice.
No, it's not.
You know, but to turn it around a little bit and have a bit of a laugh if you can.
Yeah. Right. Finally, will Arsenal win the league?
We're in a really good position. I would never say because it's until it's mathematically, you know, like impossible to lose the league. This weekend's a massive weekend because, you know, obviously Man City play Liverpool, and if Man City don't win that, it gives Arsenal a really good, nice little cushion, you know. But you know, until it's over, you know, I've been to Old Trafford and we won the league there. You know, I've been like last game of the season to win the league at Highbury, you know, and the pressure of it. But you don't remember the build up to all that. All you remember is bang,
that final moment
when you're going to win it. Yeah, you know, and it's getting close, and it'd be amazing, and it'd be brilliant for Aaron because, you know, it's his first full season as Arsenal's number one.
Incredible.
And, you know, and his family are amazing. I love them to bits. And he's a proper lad. He's a proper goalie.
Yeah. Right, as I said, it's been an absolute honour to have you in, and thank you on behalf of myself and thousands of goalkeepers, mate. You've been inspirational throughout your career and what you've achieved. Like, honestly, it's a massive honour to have you in. I can't thank you enough for coming.
Thanks for having me on. It's brilliant. I love all the goalie stuff.
Talk
about goalies. Let's carry on.
Right, unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. But this has been the Yours, Mine, Away podcast with me, Mark Howard, and David Seaman. David Seaman, what a legend. Please make sure you go like, subscribe, and follow us on all our platforms. It really helps us grow. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next week.
What a save from Mark Howard.